already live? Already hit the button? I think I'm hitting the button. Anyhow, yeah. Of course, I start to get hot as soon as I turn on it because I'm all nervous and stuff because I haven't seen everybody in so long. It's been like a week. It has been a week. I only see the live thing, but that's okay because, ooh, I got air conditioning. This is nice. You know what I can do? Check it out. I don't think anybody's on here. Such a difference. Such a difference. Anyhow. Hey, can you see me? Oh, okay, somebody can see me. Hey. Hey. Oh, just waiting for people to show up. No big deal. I know it's been a while. But yeah, welcome. Everybody. Where am I supposed to look? Craig, you're such a good kid. Thank you so much. Javi, thank you. See, excellent. Marianne, nice to see you too. Okay, just making sure. I'm doing this thing where I shut off my Wi-Fi because it's supposed to make it better, but then I wasn't sure if it was making it better. But I see a little thumbs up. I see a heart from a husband who's in the other room, or the house, as it were. And now I just got to remember where to look. I think I'm supposed to look there or something. Anyhow, hello everybody on Facebook land. Welcome, or hey, long time no see. As some of you know, I have been doing a, well, first of all, I mean, hopefully haircut places near you are opening up. Hope ours are too soon, because this is just getting to be a bit silly. I may go with a different do after this whole COVID coiffuring, as it were. But anyhow, I have been showing up for the past almost 2 weeks. I only have a few days left on Instagram TV, Instagram Live, for my Route 66 Chicago to LA tour. So that has been a lot of fun. But because I've been showing up every night on Instagram TV and Instagram Live, I feel like I haven't seen my Facebook peeps in like forevs, as the kids say. So hello, everybody. How's it going? It has been a week because I've started to do this just once a week now. When I first started out, and this is for any newcomers who are like, what the heck is Maud Betty doing online? I started, it was March 17th, because we had just gotten home from Cliff Hillis, Retro Roadhouse, been playing with the orchestra in Florida, and we came home and immediately kind of clamped down. So we decided, well, we can't see anybody for a while because we want to make sure everybody's safe, in case we were like Typhoid Mary Jeremy, which luckily did not happen. And so he started doing his Sunday afternoon brunches. He does a Sunday like noonish brunch. Debbie, nice to see you. And I decided, how much fun would it be that if we're all stuck at home, I know of all these cool vintage places that I would love to tell you about, but since we're in kind of this weird limbo, right? We are in the limbo where I'm going to tell you about places with the inference and hope and good vibes that they're going to be open. But, you know, each state's different, each town is different. So I am covering one state per episode. And I will make a note, I kind of goofed on this one. I put it that it was only till 3:30 because the stuff that I do on Instagram TV is only a half hour. This will probably be between 45 minutes to an hour, as most of them have done, because I don't want to give any state short shrift. Because right now, and this is neat too, on Instagram, everything's backwards, but here, check this out. This is what the US looks like when you look at it. It's not backwards. So covering one state in the US, continental US, and probably Hawaii and Alaska when I need to. Started in Maine, and check us out, people. Check us out. Last week we were up here, Wisconsin, and now today's Alabama. So today is Alabama. Next week will be Mississippi, and then you know what we will have done? You and I will have technically kind of quasi-traveled to all the cool vintage places east of the Mississippi River. How cool is that? Some of these states, I'll be honest, I don't know what states I haven't been in. I think Michigan. I don't think I've been in Michigan. Some of these I've been in myself, but not to all the places, because there's a lot of food places. There's a lot of hotels that I like to tell you about. And today we're going to talk about Alabama. Now, I often share like a souvenir or something that I have. Ideally, it would be a snow dome. You know, I've got my little Shakos, as I like to call them. I don't have one for Alabama, but when I went into this is our retro road camper right over here. Let me do a quick see right there. Isn't she cute? Little canned ham. But when I was waiting to tune on, I realized, tune in, turn on, drop out. I realized that I could go into the camper and, oh my God, stop it. I could go into the camper and pull off one of these magnets from my fridge. So this is the magnet from Alabama. So we're talking about Alabama today. And I have a little map here. So anybody, because I know this is so much fun for me, because while every place I talk about so far is in the United States, I know that I've got people from all over the world tuning in. So in case you don't know, Alabama looks like that magnet. It's right here on the Gulf of Mexico. It's got a little smidgy, as Retro Road Husband and I would call it, a little smidgy of coast, but it's mainly in the south here. And not to scale, do not try to follow this, but basically I've got a bunch of cool vintage places to share with you when you're in Alabama. Now, I've been to Alabama once in my life. Retro Road Husband and I did this wonderful road trip in 2011 from, where are we? Pennsylvania all the way to Austin, Texas, and back again in a different route. So I'll tell you about some of the places we went to. I'm going to tell you about some places that I have met people who've recommended places, and also a couple that are really interesting, you know, kind of history-wise, and especially when we talk about what's going on in the world today. Now, I'm not going to be too heavy-handed, but there are, you know, Alabama, there's some things I want to just mention because I think it's important and it's kind of interesting. I'm going to hit the ground running because this place is so much fun. Now, I haven't been here, but I am Facebook friends with a gentleman. His name is Tim Hollis, not Hillis, like Retro Road Husband, but Tim Hollis. And he's from Alabama, and he's a wonderful author. He has all these kind of fun books that would be in my collection. I have one or two, you know, probably the most famous one is Dixie Before Disney. He also has Lost Attractions of the Smoky Mountains, children's programming, and a bunch of kind of pop culture related Alabama. Alabama's in the house. Yay. Thank you for tuning in. Perfect opportunity for me to remind myself, to remind you all, everybody in the comment section. So as I mentioned, I've got my list of places that when I drove through Alabama, and also when I've gotten tips and did some research, I've got my places that I want to share with you. But if you have some cool vintage, authentic vintage places that you want people to know about, that you've been to, that you want to show off, please put them in the comments. I may not be able to mention them all, but the neat thing about them in the comments is that other people in the comment section, like kind of, you all are kind of a cool group right now because you all know each other because you're in the comment section. They can read those, but also when I keep this video on and post it for people who can't tune in the afternoon, I repost these on the Retro Roadmap Facebook video page, and the comments stay with it. So people who are tuning in can see how the comments come up. So Alabama, that's wonderful. We have somebody representing. So I started talking about Tim Hollis, pop culture guy, Tim Hollis's Pop Culture Museum. So this is in Dora, Alabama. And the neat thing is that I found out when I was looking recently, I am going to talk about all these places as if they are open, but please do your due diligence and make sure that they are open and that they are open safely, because I don't want to send anybody someplace that's closed or that you may get sick, okay? Long Island too, this is awesome. So Tim Hollis is a wonderful, wonderful guy, and his Pop Culture Museum is filled with like lunch boxes, cereal boxes, cartoon characters, board games, all these things. Like if you were a kid in the 60s, this would be the house you'd want to be in because it had all the cool stuff. Like my house, we had some cool stuff, and then we would like lose the pieces to the games and stuff. But Tim has got all of these, and he is open occasionally. And this Saturday, I noticed he's open, and this is so cool. You can go to his museum and I believe it's in part of his house in the basement or whatever, and he's opening it with a $5 donation, and the money, check this out, the money all goes to various local groups that are taking care of animals, animal shelters, things like that. I just thought that was so wonderful. Also, if you go to the Facebook page for the Tim Hollis Pop Culture Museum, or Facebook, excuse me, not Facebook, 2 words, YouTube, he's starting like a little TV show about his stuff. So it's very cool to see somebody else kind of doing what they love, getting the word out about the things that they collect. Like I collect cool vintage places, Tim Hollis Pop Culture Museum in Dora. These are all in a bit of a random order. Some are, you know, I try to follow an itinerary and then I get all lost myself. So do your due diligence too when you're looking at the map, because the next place I have up is America's oldest family restaurant, according to them. According to the Bright Star Restaurant in Bessemer, it's been open since 1907, and they consider themselves, and they're saying it on the internet, so you know it must be true, that they are the oldest family restaurant in America. Greek-style food, as well as like fish and steaks and things. I found out about it because Christy White of the Hukilau gave me a couple of recommendations, because she's from Alabama. She's in Birmingham, and she sent a picture of the wonderful neon sign. There's a Bright Star is the name of the restaurant. Big surprise. There's a big neon star. Big star? Anybody? Little musical innuendo there. Right in front of this old school family-owned operated restaurant in Bessemer, Alabama. So check that out. They are also a James Beard Award winner, so that's kind of a cool thing too. The next place I want to talk about, and again, these are all just kind of throwing out ideas. I tend to basically cover like old school, you know, places that you can shop, places you can stay. I didn't really find any good like kitschy motels or things like that. Places you can eat. There's usually a lot of places you can eat. And then things you can do. Now, I also didn't find a lot of cool bowling alleys, because I tend to be of, as everybody knows, like the duck pin and the bowling, the candle pin bowling, because I'm from New England. So let's talk about neon signs and food. So here's a cool thing. So when we drove down through Alabama a number of years ago, we stopped at this place in Anniston, Alabama, called Goalpost. Goalpost. This is me, Goalpost, like Goalpost arms when you're doing yoga. In Anniston, and they have this fabulous neon sign, and it's a neon sign of like a football guy kicking a football, and then it's animated, so one lights and then the other lights and then the other lights, and it goes through the goalpost. Now, unfortunately, as we know, the places that we love, these cool vintage places, do tend to, you know, kind of have a shelf life, or they get old like people, and they don't, you know, the people don't want to continue them, so not all of them survive. And this is what happened to the goalpost, and I think about 2014 or so, they decided to close. But the cool thing is good barbecue at the goalpost. We had good barbecue there too. As far as my research goes, and please correct me if you are local and you know this stuff currently, feel free to put your comments in the comment section. But I was notified that it is no longer the goalpost. It's now Betty's Barbecue, which, I mean, Maud Betty likes the barbecue, but the sign is still there, the neon sign in Anniston. So if you're going through Anniston, definitely check that out. Another thing too, if you're in that area, sorry, I keep on leaning over. I think my chair is broken. So I'm just gonna lean like this. If you're in Anniston, a couple of things. Now, I don't know if they exist, but take a few minutes. When I was there, they had a kind of an interesting old downtown, and I remember seeing this cool old Rexall sign, and it was like from back in the day, and also a really neat kind of old-fashioned mural on the back of what was a closed vintage movie theater. And it said, you know, we've got talkies and the gramophone and the whole, very old school. So spend some time doing your own kind of Nancy Drewing around and see what's there and see what you can find out. So that's in Anniston. Now, I'll tell you about the next place that we went to in Alabama before we kind of had to shoot through, because we were heading towards Mississippi. We were going to South by Southwest. So we had like an itinerary. But the other cool place that's in that vague neck of the woods, and of course I didn't put it, oh, there we go, Talladega. So Talladega, Alabama. I know there's like car racing that goes on there. I'm a car driver, but I'm not necessarily a race car enthusiast. So I may be speaking a foreign language. But the thing I did love, this is what I do love about Talladega, the Ritz Theater. Now, if you're on a road trip, it may be hard for you to coordinate when you can go and see a live show someplace, because the Ritz Theater, it started as a movie theater in about 1936, and now it is primarily, like many movie theaters are, or old school ones, is like a live show type of place. And the thing that will blow your ever-loving mind about the Ritz Theater, Google it and you'll see why, is that the facade is absolutely beautiful. It's this Art Deco. It's called vitrolite glass, or sometimes they call it Carrara. This kind of thick, opaque, yet somehow translucent. It's hard to explain, but it's absolutely gorgeous Art Deco tiles on the front. You know, a rich dark black, and then a mint green, and I think there's some burgundy, like all those period Art Deco pieces, very geometric looking, and it's just a stunner. It's just a stunner. Yes, and here's the funny thing. So Lindsay Blackerby, you're going to see how funny it is, because I'm from Boston, so you say those 3 words right there, and you know what my brain says, so I'll say it out loud. It's like NASCAR, NASCAR, NASCAR. That's how I pronounce it. At least that's how my head is. I would say NASCAR. When I'm on legitimate TV with my Hollywood TV show, I will promise to do everything. NASCAR? So you pronounce it like that in the South too? Well, how awesome is that? I've got my wicked Boston accent, and it comes out a lot when I get excited, and I get excited about Retro Roadmap, so it comes out all the time. So that's Talladega. They got NASCAR right there, and they've also got the wonderful Ritz Theater in downtown. Now, before I forget anything on the first page, let me chunk down here. So we talked about that. Here's an interesting place that's a little bit more kind of timely as far as like modern history goes. And the only reason I bring it up, I'm not heavy-handed about sending you to museums to learn about our history, because we would be stuck there. I would so much rather prefer to send you to real-life places that still exist that you can learn about history. But one that I thought was kind of interesting was, I do have a fascination, much like I said with the Art Deco facade of this beautiful Ritz Theater in Talladega, is old bus stations and train stations. So there are 2 places I want to tell you about. Now, one is a Greyhound Bus Station. Now, it isn't as glamorous as some of those wonderful streamlined modern ones or Art Deco ones, but it's kind of got an important history, because this is the Greyhound Bus Station that opened in the 1950s in Montgomery, Alabama. It is now happily turned into a museum, because it's funny, it's crazy how like the one day in history can change the perception or change the history of how you remember a place. Because other than this, it was just a bus station in Montgomery, but in 1961 it was this the place where the Freedom Riders came through, and there were big fights and people got beat up, and it was very uncool. And so now it is turned into the Freedom Rides Museum. And if you want to learn more about that, there's plenty of information online. I think it's cool because it is an adaptive reuse, as they say in the historic preservation biz. Adaptive reuse, where they took an old building and they made it into something else, and especially because what they made it into is something that kind of echoes part of its history. So that is in Montgomery, Alabama, if you're interested in that. It's on the National Historic Places Register, and also it won a preservation award from the National Trust as well. So moving right along, as the Muppets would say, googadoo, googadoo, footloose and fancy free. I want to tell you about Abbeville, Alabama, because here's such a cool story. Talk about history. I love this, because this is my kind of people. There is a restaurant in downtown Abbeville called Huggin' Molly's. Now, that may not sound interesting to you, but there is kind of in that area, in the Abbeville area, there's like a tale, a scary tale. The kids are told about this really tall, kind of scary woman who roams the streets at night, and her name is Huggin' Molly, and she is maybe 7 feet tall and as big around as a bale of cotton, and some say her ghosts still walk the streets of Abbeville, and if she happens upon you, she's going to come and give you a hug. Ooh, kind of like a creepy auntie, like I'm turning into with the lipstick, and I'll be like, here, give me a kiss. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Anyhow, Huggin' Molly's restaurant is a new place with an old heart, because not only do they have an authentic old school soda fountain inside, so you've got your soda fountain, ice creams, and you can sit at the counter, safely spaced, but you can also get, sandwiches and stuff. So whether you've got a sweet tooth or you've got a salt tooth, you're going to be all set there. The neater thing about that is that the owner, who is a local businessman who grew up in the area, also has added a ton of vintage signs to the downtown area. Now, they don't necessarily correspond with businesses. So like there's a cool old, I think it's like, what is it, Red Goose shoes. Like it's not necessarily that there's this, the store has got a shoe store there, but he's helped to decorate the downtown with some cool vintage signs. I love this idea so much I can't even tell you. It reminds me, again, because I'm from New England, of Dave Waller up in Lowell, Massachusetts, has done a similar thing. So I love it when people take old signs and save them, but they don't just put them in their house, they share them with the world. So that is Abbeville, Alabama. Go to Hug and Molly's, make that like your excuse to go there, have lunch, take a drive, and then goop around and take a look at all the neon signs and things like that. I heard rumor that this gentleman is hoping to also open up the old movie theater. I don't know, but I'm telling you, when I become a quadrillionaire, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I want to save up all these little sad, downtowns, give them some love, give them a lot of money so they can go open up again. So that's what I would do. So my heart goes out. And so that is Abbeville. Now, we're not going in alphabetical order, but I mentioned a historic movie theater, and I have a couple of those on my list, but I do want to mention, and there may be more now because with the COVID, it seems like drive-in movie theaters are opening up a little bit more in every state, So as of this writing, there were technically only 7 drive-in movie theaters in the entirety of Alabama, and it's a pretty big state, It's like right, where I can't point and talk at the same time. Right there. Only 7, but one of the ones that's the oldest one in the state is still open. That is the King Drive-In in Russellville, and it's been open since 1949. Now, if I remember my history correctly, which I try to because this is what I do, the origination of the drive-in movie theater was here close to where I am near Philadelphia, Camden, New Jersey. I'm thinking about 1936 to 1938-ish. So the fact that this was 1949, that's still old school. So that's the King Drive-In in Russellville, Alabama's oldest continually operating drive-in. So if you want to go to the drive-in, that's one, and there's also a few more. Driveins.com, I believe, is the website that always keeps up on those, and my heart goes out to anybody else who is kind of doing what they love and adding their 2 cents worth to the pop culture and making us know that these places are alive. Now, talked about the Ritz, the Sanger Theater in Mobile, Alabama. So Mobile is down here near the coast, as we would say, and yep, down here. Looks like an absolutely glorious place. Opened in January of 1927. So again, interesting note, talkie movies came out in 1928. So this was probably like maybe a silent movie house, or it was probably equipped for talkies, but then also live shows. So it's the Sanger Theater. It's in the Lower Dauphin Street Historic District. And is a performing arts center now, absolutely glorious looking, and the official home for the Mobile Symphony Orchestra. So how cool is that? That Mobile, Alabama has a symphony orchestra. Some states don't have any, and this is not even just the state or the city. So I think that's pretty cool. That's a Sanger Theater in Mobile. And I also want to mention, I had another theater. Oh, the Alabama Theater. Okay, I'll talk about that when we get to Birmingham, because I do have a couple of places I want to mention in Birmingham, but that place looks absolutely divine, as they would say. But let's pop back up and talk about railroads. Remember I talked about railroads. Actually, it's funny. I'm like, remember I talked about, and I was like, oh no, that was my Route 66 thing when I was talking about Harvey houses and the Santa Fe Railroad. So not now, but we're going to talk about railroads. So the really neat thing is that there is a railroad museum in Calera, Calera, pardon me if I mispronounce it, Calera, Alabama. It's the Heart of Dixie Railroad Museum. And I have a soft spot for museums who tell the story of travel, modes of travel in the country. So like vintage car museums are kind of cool, and train museums I love. And this place has, they have an operating standard gauge and narrow gauge trains, two restored depots, two restored depots, indoor collection of railroad artifacts and memorabilia, and you know how I love memorabilia, and an outdoor collection of railroad cars, locomotives, and cabooses. Now, we all know what a caboose is. Yeah, so that is the Heart of Dixie Railroad Museum. Now, the neat thing about that place is, too, and again, everything is under this umbrella of me talking about it like it's alive, but check before you go, is that they offer seasonal train tours, you know, where you can go out and see the foliage, or you can go for a wine tour, or maybe there's a scary one at Halloween, or there's one that has Santa Claus on it. So you can actually go and take rides on these historic trains. So I think that's pretty cool too. Susan Nichols, thank you, yes, very much for chiming in. There are several Sanger theaters in different states. I found that out when I was Googling it. So that's going to be a neat little rabbit hole for me to travel down and see which ones. And you know what? That might be a good segue. I'm going to segue right now into the Alabama theater that I mentioned that's in Birmingham, because much like you said, there's a number of those types of Sanger theaters in different states. The Alabama theater in Birmingham opened in 1927, just like the Sanger. But the Alabama theater was only for Paramount Pictures. And that's a thing that I think is fascinating that we really don't have anymore. Is back in the day, theaters would be opened by people who were making movies, and you could only see the movies made by that company in those theaters. So again, hearkening back to where I am from, Massachusetts, Boston area, Boston has a Paramount theater. It was in disrepair for decades, even when I was in college and taking pictures of things. So old school and sad. But anyhow, this is such a neat thing, is that, you know, Paramount had theaters all over the place. So you could only go see the Paramount theaters. Now, what you can do, the Alabama theater has live music, classic movies, which I love seeing a classic movie in a classic theater, shows and events, and they also have a pipe organ, a theater organ, which is so much fun. This one is not to get all geeky on you, the Wurlitzer Opus 1783. So that is the Alabama theater. It also has a wonderful facade, this really cool detailed interior that's been redone. So that is in Birmingham. Now I'm taking a look. I just want to make sure. So has a lot of live tracks. Okay. Susan Nichols, not sure what a live track is. Maybe like driving or something. And I'm trying to see more what Deke is saying to me. Ogie's Trailer Park. Yes. You know what? Okay, so a couple of things. So thank you, Derek, for chiming in about Ogie's Trailer Park in Providence. I actually have gone there, and I have gone there with my sister. It is a very cool thing. And also, just so you know, it's not my fault. I've noticed this on Retro Road Husband when he does his Sunday Facebook Lives. For whatever reason, Facebook has it so you cannot post a photo in the comments on a live video. I think that's probably so people don't, you know, end up memeing it together. But anyhow, ooh, across the street from the Alabama is the Lyric. Awesome! XU. Right, thank you. Now, Susan, see, this is great. This is what I love about doing live videos versus just me blabbing, you know, to a camera, you know, that's fixed or whatever, is that bit of interaction. So, like, I get that now. The trains going through all the time, so not just the trains that, you know, are in the museum. So that's awesome. Thank you for chiming in about that. Thank you for letting me know about the Lyric Theater. That's so cool. So, yeah, anybody with any other, like, Alabama specific things, feel free to like put them in the comments, and I'll do my best to put them in there. So let's see, moving right along. Oh, well, this was kind of neat. So, well, we were you know what, we'll do this. We were in Birmingham, so there's a couple of places I want to mention in Birmingham. And then I've got some fun music things to talk about, and then food, because I'm always talking about the food, because I'm stuck in my house, eating toast all the time. Oh, that's so cool that the Lyric has been recently restored. I love old movie theaters. That's one of the reasons we moved to our town. So we have a fabulous restored movie house here in Pennsylvania where I live. So Birmingham. I would be remiss if I did not mention the 16th Street Baptist Church. Now, those of you who know neon signs know that it has a neon sign in it, which to me is always kind of unusual that a church would have a neon sign. Like you think of neon signs from, Pottersville, and it's like, live dancing and, all tawdry and stuff. So to see a neon sign on a church is a bit interesting. But the more somber aspect of this is that this was the location in 1963 where this church that was part of the African American community was bombed. Not cool at all. Resulted in deaths of 4 young black girls. Kind of a famous location for this somber kind of part of our nation's history that we should pause and reflect and learn from, so we do not repeat moving forward. It helped get federal action to take up rights on civil rights. But the cool thing is that the community banded together. The church now continues to be a church where people go and gather, and you can take tours. So if this is something that you want to learn more about, and the architecture looks absolutely beautiful too. I think it was built in like 1911, late 1800s, early 20th century. Absolutely gorgeous. Lots of neon. It is a neon sign, but also stained glass, things like that. So that's the 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham. And so that is kind of a little bit more somber place that you might want to check out when you're in Birmingham. On a lighter note, let's talk about, Ted's Restaurant. Now, Ted's Restaurant is, I did not know that about Condoleezza Rice. Interesting. So thank you for sharing that, Susan. I appreciate that. Here's a place that this cracks me up, because talking about being a little girl, when I started Retro Roadmap, I was like, I'm not going to do anything from the 70s because that's so recent. But I've been doing Retro Roadmap long enough that the 70s is kind of a way, it's almost like 50 years ago. So the fact that I'm thinking, this place is too new. Ted's Restaurant in Birmingham, too new because it was opened in 1973. But it's getting to be old school now, as are we all. So it's a wonderful, kind of very simple little luncheonette, breakfast and lunch. It's got Southern favorites. So you've got your grits, you've got your pecan pie. We'll talk more about some of the Southern foods that are famous in Alabama in a minute. But they also do Greek food, and I think this is interesting because that other place we were talking about, the Bright Star, it was also Greek oriented. So there's obviously a Greek influx, an influx of people originally from Greece. Came into Alabama at one point, and then they shared, which is the wonderful thing about how we connect with people is with food. That's why that's why we have, I'm Irish, so be thankful I do not share my food with you because it's salty. It's salty, my food. But anyhow, Greek food, delish. Southern food, delish. That is Ted's Family Restaurant. It's kind of known like it's a meat and three, and they've got a steam table. You can get your stuff there. And it's been open since 1973. So if you're in Birmingham, you want to get some food, that's a nice little lunchy kind of place to go to. So we talked about that. Let's talk about music, because as some of you know, I'm a huge music fan, and I'm married to a musician, so I better like music. But there's a place up here in this. So we were just talking about Birmingham, right? Like, where am I pointing? Kind of in the middle of the state, like on the way from Atlanta to Mississippi. But way up here in the corner here, Muscle Shoals. Muscle Shoals. Any music fan would hear the words Muscle Shoals. Well, you'd hear it if I knew how to pronounce it. Muscle Shoals is a hotbed of where a lot of iconic music was created in Alabama. So Fame Recording Studios. So this is kind of where a lot of really cool stuff happens. Etta James recorded there. Wilson Pickett recorded Mustang Sally, Land of a Thousand Dances there, and even an iconic version of Hey Jude with Dwayne Allman on it. Allman Brothers, Sweet Home Alabama, all that. Now I don't know. I don't want to be like saying that they recorded that there, but there is definitely some musical history in Muscle Shoals in the Fame Recording Studio. The neat thing is, and the reason I tell you this isn't just because, that's nice, but whatever, is that you can take tours of it. Now I see Jeff Cooper from the UK just tuned in. He's a music fan, so hey Jeff. And right below you, Evan Tritt. So you went to Muscle Shoals last year. That's awesome. I hope that you were able to, Jeff Cooper, you're awesome. I hope you were able to, you know, absorb some musical history while we were there. Fame only has tours early AM or late afternoon. Noted. Always make sure you know things that are open. I have a story that I will probably tell when we do Mississippi next week about how I missed having an awesome piece of pie in an iconic place because we literally missed getting there by 15 minutes. So do your planning, okay? So you can take a Fame recording studio tour in Muscle Shoals, and also it's fairly close to the Alabama Music Hall of Fame. And I think that's pretty cool. So, because not all states have a Music Hall of Fame, but Alabama has one. So that's all in that upper left-hand corner, kind of near the Tennessee-Mississippi border. A lot of iconic music going on there, and I'm sure with musicians traveling from like Memphis and Nashville, and you know, the old school way of cross-pollination, not just on the internet, but like driving and stopping and sharing, that's what went on there. There's another really cool kind of old vintage place in that neck of the woods too that I would be remiss if I did not mention, which is Trowbridge's Ice Cream Bar. So Trowbridge's is in Florence. Florence, listen to me, I got my Boston accent going, Jay. It's in Florence. It's been open since 1918. So over 100 years, almost 102. Isn't that crazy? My grandmother, who just passed away earlier this year, was born in 1918. So she was 100, almost 101. Anyhow, Trowbridge's Ice Cream Bar in Florence, totally old school on the inside, cool old sign on the outside, and again, that lovely combo of if you've got a sweet tooth, they have all the soda fountain things. They are famous, actually, they don't make their own ice cream, but they are famous for, where is it? Their orange pineapple sherbet, or sherbet, as we would say back in the day. Also, so you've got the sweet tooth, so you've got the soda fountain stuff, but then you've got a salt tooth, you can get sandwiches and whatnot. So that is right there too. So think about that as like a day trip. Like go, you know, as Evan mentioned, you know, make sure you go during the time that you can actually take a tour of Fame Studios. But then also maybe plan your lunch or your little desserty thing around going to Trowbridge's Ice Cream Bar. There's another place I just want to mention before I flip the page here. I was going to say turn the page, but that made me think of Bob Seger, and after that I get nothing because I don't know much about Bob Seger. But I want to mention Toomer's Drug. So Toomer's Drug in Auburn is a diner and soda fountain since 1896, and they are famous for their fresh squeezed lemonade. I thought that was kind of neat, and if you're on the road, it's so much better to spend your money where your heart is, in downtowny places and old school independent places that do not have a national chain infrastructure to help buffer these times. Like when it's a person who's owning a place and it's just them, your money goes directly to help them, and then your money also goes to directly help that community. So it's really important all the time, as I've always said with Retro Roadmap, but especially now, to spend your money where your heart is, because that is an investment in the kind of world you want to live in. That's what I say. I also notice that my bangs are totally like, whatever. Wouldn't it be weird, like when I show up and I get a haircut? So, okay, so before, I'm not signing off just yet, but we need to talk about food. We need to talk about food. Oh my God, see, I get so excited that I move the freaking camera. That I want to talk about some delicious foods from Alabama. So here's some good stuff. Barbecue. Okay, so a lot of the stuff that when you look at iconic foods from Alabama, barbecue weighs heavily in there, as it does for many states in this kind of region of the U.S. You know, barbecue, everybody's got their regional types, though I don't know if Florida has. They're a little bit of different things, but, you know, they've got their different, you know, is it pork or is it beef? Is it a tomato-based sauce or whatever? And Bunyan's Barbecue. So see, Evan's recommending Bunyan's Barbecue. I wonder if it's like, you know, Fred Flintstone size because Babe the Big Ox and Paul Bunyan. But yeah, so they are known for their barbecue. It's primarily pork. And also, as far as sauces go, Alabama White. Alabama White is a sauce that they primarily put on chicken. And that is the Alabama white sauce is almost like a riff on, this is when I was looking at the ingredients. It reminded me of like this, the sauce or the dressing you would make for coleslaw. So like mayonnaise, sugar, vinegar, salt, pepper, put that, and then you put it on your barbecue chicken, or whatever you like. So that's kind of an Alabama thing. The other thing I thought was interesting was that, they had like, shrimp and grits and boiled peanuts and pecan pie and a lot of these things that seem to be staples in the Southern food community. So they are popular there too. But there was one thing I noticed, that they have a state dessert that was so unusual to me, and it's called lane cake. Lane cake, also known as it was like prize cake or Alabama lane cake. It is the official dessert of Alabama. I've never heard of this, so I love it when there's a food I've never heard of. And this is kind of a traditional cake, and looks like white cake, but then it's got raisins, pecans, and coconut kind of in layers in it. I would love to find out a place. I'm sure there's a place that sells it there. When I find that out, it's something I will share on Retro Roadmap. But I just love it when you find foods on the road that you don't find anywhere else. Like Evan Tritt says right here, bright red hot dogs with vinegar slaw at Bunyan's Barbecue. So yeah, anytime you're on the road, again, you're on vacation, you're learning stuff, you're learning about these different foods, and then you find out about if you even like them yourself. So try the things, even if there's a regional brand of potato chips. To me, that's like me being Anthony Bourdain. He was always eating whatever, like eyeballs and bugs and stuff like that. And I'm like, try the regional chips. Baby steps, people, baby steps, but a lot of fun. So one more thing I want to mention about food in Alabama is Icebox Pie. I haven't mentioned the Doors Alabama song yet, and if who's the Doors fan in the family? It'd be Retro Road Husband. He's a Doors fan. Me, a little bit. But I will maybe I'll see if that's something he knows. Maybe he'll sing it on his Sunday brunch type thing. Actually, I kind of strike that even as I said that, because I told him he needs to, because I'm the wife and I'm like, you got to do this. He's going to learn Route 66 for me and sing it on Sunday. And he promised, because he showed up on my Instagram Live last night, and I said it out loud, and he gave me the thumbs up or the smile, and that's what it means. So I will see if he up and see. Yes. So Cliff Hill you've got your little cool guy glasses on. Stop practicing Route 66, Jay. And Susan Nichols, you are so right. Lemon icebox pie. So good. So that's what I remember when we went to the Goalpost in Anniston all those years ago. Retro Road Husband got the plate of barbecue really good, but I can only eat so much, right? But anyhow, I got a piece of icebox pie, and I don't know if anybody hasn't had icebox pie. Call it icebox pie because it pretty much sets in the icebox. It's a cool, kind of creamy, it's a bit of dairy. It's almost like a key lime, but not so much. It's a bit of a light, kind of fluffy lemon in either a graham cracker or sometimes a saltine crust. I think I talked about that maybe in South Carolina. There was a place that had this lemon pie covered in whipped cream. And here's the deal. The thing that makes it so delicious is its deliciousness, but also because you're in the South and it can get so hot that you're so hot, and then you take a bite of this cold, creamy lemon pie, and it just refreshes you from the inside out. So I'm sure this is a place, a thing that you can get at any of these like mom and pop places that I mentioned, but lemon icebox pie. I feel like I'm ready to drive to Alabama as we speak just to get a slice of it, or maybe try making it myself. But then if I made it myself, I would eat the whole thing. So I will leave you on that delicious note, because we're a little bit running a little bit early. Well, early or late, depending on how you look at it, because I said it was only going to be 3:30 today, but here it is, almost quarter of. So I want to thank you all. Let's see, what do I want to talk about? I want to thank you all, first of all, for showing up, for contributing in the comment setting. Getting to know one another in the comment section, because this is what it's all about. When we can't be together in person, the next best thing is to get to know each other online. And I'm trying to show up as often as possible to do that, because I feel like I am connected to enough people that if I get there, maybe people will come in kind of like spokes and hubs. And if I speak, I'm a speaking spoke. No, I'm a speaking hub, and there are spokes. And this is why I don't write a lot. I spend half the time backing out what I write. So next week, okay, so on Facebook Live, next week, this is like the little TV guide. Next week's going to be Mississippi, Mississippi. Then, because we just did Alabama, and then as I mentioned at the top of the show, that means there is a Facebook Live for every single state east of the Mississippi River on the Retro Roadmap Facebook page and the Retro Roadmap YouTube page. So if you want to catch up on some of the states that I've covered, you can do that. Feel free to also, I think you can still add things into the comments too. I'm not sure, but I think you can. What did I say? Dothan. I did not. Susan, Tamale, see? Keep on chiming in. Keep on chiming in, people. I said Dora. Susan, Dora is Tim Hollis's Pop Culture Museum. Dothan is, I'm drawing a blank, but feel free, if there's a place that I missed, put it in the comments so everybody learns, including me. Because I don't know everything, but I always love learning. So next week for Facebook Live, we'll do Mississippi. And then tonight, this is a double whammy. I feel like I'll have to do a different hairdo or something. I'm going to be in the Vintage Retro Road Camper here, because that's where I do my Instagram lives for Route 66. And tonight's episode of Route 66, this day last year, I was in New Mexico, Flagstaff, Arizona. Excuse me, I was in Flagstaff, Arizona. Don't forget Winona. And we spent the day going to the Grand Canyon, but I went someplace that I liked even better, and I cannot even wait to tell you about it. So that is where, I lost my train of thought. I apologize. That is 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, or Eastern Daylight Time, on Instagram Live. If you go to my Instagram page, I think there's an Instagram/live. You can find it. And that's one of the reasons I'm doing these Instagram Lives, is because prior to last week when I started them, I had no idea how to work it myself. So I was like, and I figured, you know what? I'm stuck at home for the summer. I will learn these things, and maybe you'll learn too. Maybe you've never signed on to Instagram, and now you want to see what it's all about, to just check out an Instagram Live. That being said, tomorrow night and Thursday night, oh crap, yeah. So Friday and Saturday. Tonight, Friday and Saturday are my last three. I'm on the last legs of my Route 66 tour. And also, if you tune in, this may sound a bit infomercially. You know what, there's only a handful of you right there. If you tune in tonight, you're going to learn how, I even sound like an infomercial, but it's not. I want to save you a few $100s. If you're interested in going on the tour that I went on, I went on a guided Route 66 tour. If you listen to me, you can save a couple of $100, and who doesn't want to save a couple $100? So I'm going to tell people about that when I'm in the camper tonight, and tomorrow night and Saturday night. And then next week on Thursday at 3 o'clock till about 4 o'clock or so will be Mississippi. And then I may even be trying to learn how to do the TikTok. Now, I know that's for the kids, but again, this weird time in our lives, it's a perfect time to learn new skills. To, say, well, I got the time, let me learn Espanol, or let me learn how to do the TikTok. So that's kind of what's going on in the Retro Roadmap world. I look forward to us all being able to be safely on the road and going to some vintage places. When I'm able to safely get out and go to places, I will be posting pictures. And in the meantime, let's just all prepare to go to, some places and go there safely. And I love, Susan, I love that you're going to the Loveless Cafe tonight, because that's where you and I and Retro Road Husband met for lunch all those years ago. And I ate so many biscuits, it was not even funny. But anyhow, this is Maud Betty signing off, saying, just drive your life in the direction of your dreams. Bye.